give him a jump off a piece. Go back to the American ridership from Malibu, Jamie Barge. She rides for Conoco. Aboard Legal, 37.
We continue now with our first round here. Lubo is up next. Kylie Company entry from Malibu, California. Jamie Barge is the rider.
Yeah, Jamie hasn't shown much here this season. Has come in looking like she's saving her horse. And Jamie has a distinct disadvantage to the rest of these riders. Jamie is legally deaf and does a wonderful job of communicating not only with her ground people and trainer, but with her horse. And she and this horse have had some very good success here in the last 2 years, jumping some of these bigger tracks.
2 times money earners in Grand Prix competition for this partnership. Lubo, the 12-year-old Oldenburg gelding, and Jamie Barge. Still looking for the first Americans to enter the jump-off realm. Clear scores owned by foreign riders.
Oh, that was a light rub there. A very cheap rail. I was about to say this horse is jumping fresh. He has his own style. He's very quick with his legs and very flat with his body. But once again, the seahorse with the bubbles underneath seems to be that line is the one line that's really kind of puzzled the horse and rider combinations. A little flat into the double again. And clear over the last.
Well, some trouble on the course there. A dozen penalties in 80.575.
We are racing to 20 in our $1 million AIG Grand Prix. Let's turn back to Canada. And the horse comes in, the horse owned by Thunderbird Show Park from Langley, BC. And the rider also from Langley, British Columbia. Here she is, Jane Tidball.
Joining us now, Conceito's son, Jane Tidball's entry. Again, we're going back to Canada, this time to Langley, British Columbia. Thunderbird Show Park, the owners of Conceito's son.
This is a new horse for Laura. I haven't seen it go very much this season. Looks like an early rail. It kind of ate up that first line distance. She got down there quite easy. It looks like a very big strided, open strided horse.
13-year-old Oldenburg gelding, world-class horse in the Longines winner in the Los Angeles event some time ago.
Hard rub on B of the double by the in-gate, but still standing. Liverpool comes down, but the bogey jump is up. And Laura looks like, you know, this horse looks like a lot of horse in her hand today. Good strong ride to the triple bar. Just got a little flat again, kind of like McLean's horse early in the class. She went to help that horse a little with her hand, and horse got flattened. The hind end just didn't work as well as it should have.
So the young lady from British Columbia, Jane Tidball, and Conceito's son with a dozen faults, 81,774.
Beautiful chestnut owned by Mindy of Laguna Niguel. The rider who calls home Indio, California, Kyle King for the USA.
Kyle King now with experience all across the United States and all across Canada as well. Comes up next on McLeod's Othello. Riding for a well-known trainer here in Southern California, Mickey Hayden, out of Laguna Niguel, California. 4 times money earners, winner of the Del Mar Grand Prix, a 14-year-old Celle Francais gelding. Growing up in the horse industry, father and mother were horse trainers and had a successful business for a long time.
Yeah, this is a really interesting horse. This was a horse that had been ridden by Lane Clark, which we'll see later on in the class. And Kyle has taken over the ride for Mickey Hayden and has had some good success with this horse this season here. And an unlucky rail again. I think that horse just stared through the double there a little bit, and I think his inexperience in these big classes showed itself there.
Cross canters the turn, which doesn't make that oxer any more comfortable.
Yep. And just a little bit of disconnection between one lead and the other. Ride in over the triple bar, and I think that's what we're beginning to see in that line when you override the triple bar and 1 down at the end. You override the triple bar.
So not the best day here.
It gets a little flat to the double.
And McLeod's Othello. I still think they'd be happy with that performance. 16 jumping ball, 76.260 seconds. Stepping out to this level, the AIG $1 million Grand Prix. So nice turnout, 16 jumping ball, 76.260 seconds. And we'll continue on with the horse known as Revenge. The rider and owner from Stewart, Oregon, Shelley Fellers.
Revenge now from Oregon, Sherwood, Oregon to be exact. This is Shelley Fellers, wife of the World Cup winner Rich Fellers, and she's aboard Revenge.
This is Shelley's horse, her own, and I've watched her developing this horse over the past few seasons, and I'm sure this is going to be one of the largest tests for this horse and rider combination in their career.
16-year-old Swedish gelding. And, of course, she comes out of that Fellers show jumping school, which has been incredibly successful over the years.
Hard rub coming out, but it stays up. This horse is looking just a hair tentative leaving the floor today. Yeah, he's got a little stall going on. May see Shelley go to the whip here soon. Yes. That was an aid. The whip is used as an aid to back up your leg. And that horse was sticking off the ground. And to reinforce the confidence of jumping across, Shelley went to the stick to 8AB. She may need it again. It looks like the horse is getting a little tired.
Maybe running out of gas along circuit.
She's working on a clear. She goes to the whip. I think she's going to go to the whip again. Yeah. A poor decision to the last jump.
Caught it on the clock as well, 83.205, so 8 + 1, a 9-fault total for Revenge.
Yeah, that was too bad. You know, she did a great job of salvaging her way with this horse sticking a little off the ground. It caught up with her at 13A, and just a poor distance decision to the last fence.
So the difficulty remains in the first round with just the 3 clear performers. We welcome next Rocky W. Caitlyn Campbell out of Simi Valley, California is aboard Rocky W. 19-year-old Dutch gelding. One of two 19-year-olds in the field this afternoon. Most people think a horse's career is over in his early teens, but well taken care of, and big hearts bring them along even to the age of 20 and beyond.
Caitlyn is one of our up-and-coming youngsters and has had some great success in the juniors, jumpers and hunters. Now based here in California as a professional. And I'm sure this is one of the larger tracks she's jumped in her career. Nice strong ride into the double, but a little flat, as you see. Maybe a little overdone. Working on an eight fault trip here. Good ride to the double, 13A and B.
Coming home with a pair of rails and an 8-fault score on the course,
Well
and
done.
within the time of 80.575 with 8.
Caitlyn, Campbell from Stevie, California, and a Rocky W. And that puts them into 13. So still just 3 clears.
Solo's Concept now. Laura Hite, an amateur rider out of Costa de Casa, California. Solo's Concept is her mount. Very successful in the amateur division and moving up now into the Grand Prix section just within this season, I believe.
Yeah, again, a newcomer to the big dance on Sunday. This will be a good challenge for both horse and rider.
She was third placed in one of the Smart Pack vitamin supplement Grand Prix, which happen every Friday here. A 13-year-old Holsteiner gelding.
Peaky into the double, and kind of what happened to Will when the horse looks down at that black panel jumping in that first double, that makes the back pole of the B element a long ways away. This horse has a distinctive left-hand drift, and as he came around that turn away from the in-gate, he was falling out to the left, which made that 7-stride line a little too direct for him and got there a little too deep. Stretchy at the triple bar, better leg.
On the way home with a dozen over the fence number 14, which is down. It'll be 16 for Solo's Concept. And a little bit of time as well, 87.315, so she'll collect some time penalties.
I believe 5 time penalties.
Looks like a total 21. Here is E-Music from the S&N Stables LLC of Encinitas, California, Simon Nazeri, who rides as an Israeli international rider. Coming up next, E-Music. 13-year-old Belgian gelding, World Cup competitor. And again, for the international considerations, ride for his native Israel.
Simon starts out with a nice triple combination up the first 3 jumps. Nice and smooth.
Soft and smooth. Just a little too soft.
Yeah, maybe got there a little bit too early to 8A, and his horse backed away from the front pole, but just didn't have enough to get across the back this afternoon. Hard rub behind at the seahorse jump, but it stays up.
A nice 4-fault round, soft and easy, but a rail is down 82.551 for E-Music.
Yeah, that was a shame. That was a very, very well ridden. And as he comes into the double, you see he just gets a little too close to the front pole. His horse backs away, trying to be careful, and is caught by the width of the element A of 8A B.
Siri Gordon Salanki, she's also Santa Monica.
Good ride to the triple bar to the Liverpool.
So, ending up with that score, Simon Nazeri is in the bottom of the 4-fault category, unofficially in the 9th position, with that 4-fault score 82 and change. Siri Gordon Salanki, a newcomer to the big division, riding for her Tomboy Farms out of Santa Monica, California on Domino.
Yeah, this is a very big horse with a very huge stride, and I think it fooled her a little bit the first line. She got down there a little too easy and was not able to keep him off the front pole at jump number 2. As you can see, it's a very large horse. Big stride.
This would be her first full year, I believe, at the Grand Prix division. Successful in the amateur sections, but making the big step in 2017.
Yeah, and another case of not so much the in-gate, but of the straightness through the double. That horse shifted to the right, and just kind of jumped into the B element of the double by the in-gate.
Home with the 8 faults and a little bit of time as well. Time on the course of 84.357, so she picks up 2 time penalties. And we'll have a total of 10 faults. 10 faults total, the only 10 faulter right now. And I believe that's still going to be in the money for Domino at this point. Low down in the money, nonetheless in the money. Here is Anaconda D now. Nicole Hurt of Alamo, California. That's in Northern California in the East Bay of San Francisco. Anaconda D being coached by gold medalist Will Simpson. 10-year-old Hanoverian mare. awards in the Friday Grand Prix, which are sponsored again by Smart Pack, the #1 vitamin supplement for horses on a regular basis, and a very good junior amateur rider, Nicole Hurt from Alamo, California.
Yeah, Nikki moving up the ranks here. This is a big scopy horse.
Rounding the turn now, right to the treble clef narrow. A problem for many things, going pretty well right now. Again, our course is designed by Alan Wade of Tipperary, Ireland.
Oh.
And some big trouble there at the Liverpool.
Just a poor decision away from the in-gate. She kind of wanted to move up and leave from a long distance, and she and her horse weren't on the same page. It looks like he lost a front shoe along the way also. I just saw one of the jump crew pick up the shoe. So she's continuing on because she did actually jump that obstacle.
And with the second refusal, it's going to be over for Anaconda D, unfortunately.
Yep.
Well, just on the top block, that young amateur rider, Nicole Hurt and Anaconda D. Ladies and gentlemen, please big round of applause. She's a great young rider for the USA.
Wordsworth 2 and Kimberly Bruce. Kimberly Bruce, the owner from Turner, Oregon, for Wordsworth 2. Jeff Camp, one of the top professionals from that area, the coach here. Wordsworth 2 coming up next from Oregon.
Yeah, it looks like Nicole Hurt has moved up in the order.
And I'll correct that. This is going to be NJK No Regret Nicole Hunnert from the Encinitas area. That's just above Del Mar, California. And she's riding NJK No Regret for the NJK Show Jumpers Incorporated.
Nicole is one of the busiest riders here this season. I every time I look up, I see her on a horse. I know that feeling. This is a good horse rider combination. She's really gotten to know this horse very well, and has had some good success. It's a temperamental horse. You'll see it's not the easiest ride, but she's been working with it now for a while. She understands the pace she needs, as well as the rideability. This is a trying little mare.
Doesn't appear we're going to have any time faults, but we are jumping faults now at Purina.
Now, as you can see, as she came at us on that line, that horse kind of faded to the right, and it made that jump a little wider than it needed to be.
Might be getting away from her a little bit down this if she has to ride forward to the combination.
And that horse, you know, she jumped that oxer and just kind of, as we would say, landed on her nose a little bit, never was able to elevate the front end up, and got a little flat to the last jump.
A tad bit erratic there. It looks like 4 down, 16 faults in 77.840. Rather brisk. As we mentioned, a total 16 there for NJK No Regret. Riders continuing to move up. This is clockwise of Green Hill Z. Uma O'Neill of Corralitos, California, is aboard. Another newcomer to the major division here in Grand Prix, and this is certainly the biggest prize money she's been jumping for. 10-year-old Zangerscheide stallion.
Nice ride into the double. Hard rub.
Pretty much going her way right now. However, this line proves to be somewhat difficult for a lot of horses that have been up to this level. She gives him the stick right there, and she gets away with it. Might be the first clear for the American side. And she is. And I would guarantee if Vegas was doing numbers, this one would not have been a pick. But what a great performance by Uma O'Neill and Clockwise of Green Hill Zed. That is the first and only American combination to go clear here.
As you can see by the big smile on her face, that was a big accomplishment. Uma works very hard at it, trained by Ray Texel. Horse is fit, excited, ready to go, and jumped a beautiful clear round. Well done, young lady.
Here's Camerino now with the top Grand Prix rider out of Colorado in Paul Roarbach out of Parker, Colorado for the Welch Bridge Farm. It's a 13-year-old Holsteiner gelding. Second million, I believe, for Paul. 2 times a money earner here during the Grand Prix season in the desert.
Hard rub at the first jump. Paul's been working very hard the last couple years on this horse. I've been watching him when we're at the same shows. He does his homework. So good today.
Wells Bridge Farm, one of the top concerns in the Colorado area, where there's a tremendous number of events. Very much a horse state, Colorado.
Just a really hard rub there. I thought he gave him a good ride. Maybe just peeked down at that Liverpool under that vertical. This is a bit of a slow horse. He needs to be conscious here. And there again, the technicality of that line. If you hold off too much, the oxer gets you. If you come in too hard,
an 8-fault score. 81.215 and 8.
8 jumping for Paul Roarbach, just a few fences coming down. And the horse Camerino, 17th best performer to this point. And next on that order of gold, this horse home by Nicole Hurt is Firestone S. Kristen Harden, the rider of USA.
Here's Firestone S. Nicole Teague, the owner from Nukuyama, California. Kristen Harden is aboard. Probably the only Arabian hunter jumper rider that rides at the Grand Prix level. And she's ridden hunters and jumpers in her entire life, but also rides Arabian horses in the Arabian division and has done national champion work. And she's also been a major Grand Prix winner. So an interesting combination. Kristen Harden out of Nukuyama, California on Firestone S.
Yeah, Kristen Kristen is an amazing rider. Not only does she ride Arabians, but she rides paint horses, she rides quarter horses, and has been, I think, 25 years Arabian Grand Prix or Arabian show jumping rider of the year, world champion. This is a real trying horse. I see this horse a lot. Kristen spends a lot of time in Northern California, where I'm from. I've competed against her and this horse, and they have a very unique relationship. Kristen can ride all different kinds of horses, and she and Firestone happen to have a very good rapport. Couple hard rubs there, the seahorse jump, but it might just be enough to keep him thinking about his job. She's on the time, but a touch slow.
Spoiled right there, unfortunately. 13B. And she does make the time in 81-133 with 4 faults.
Yeah, that was a shame. Again, that technical line, I think, you know, she jumped the triple bar a little on the slow side. As she comes into the combination, she jumps A well, but just jumps into the second element of that combination. There's some technicality to that line that has caught a few horse and rider combinations.
At 4 faults in that time of 81-133, unofficially about 9th right now in the standings. Here's Harley Brown, an Australian rider now out of Portola Valley, California. Emma Catherine Reichow is the owner of his ride, Apex. She's from Menlo Park, California, representing Northern California and the Bay Area. A 13-year-old Anglo-European gelding.
Yeah, coming down to the Rubik's Cube, he had the horse spooked just a little bit, like was caught off guard by maybe the Rubik's Cube, but it kept his attention. Harley did a good job of keeping the focus going.
Posted a couple of major Grand Prix victories on other mounts throughout the past several seasons.
And his time just a touch behind where he needs to be. A little quiet to the triple bar. And he just kind of held off of that double a little too much.
The Queen's got him.
And a little flat to the last jump. And just made the time allowed.
So there's another 8-faulter, 82-617 with 8 faults.
As you watch this class progress, that line again, the triple bar needs to be ridden with some pace and knowing your horse of what width and what distance they need to be at to jump the width of A and still be able to back up at B has become a little bit of a problem.
Here's St. Quentin as Peter Petschenig returns from Murrieta, California. His second ride, St. Quentin. This is a 15-year-old Bavarian gelding, 3 times a money earner in the Grand Prix section. As you said earlier, a large, tall rider. And this not nearly as big a horse as he had coming on his first effort.
No. And Peter now being one of the first riders to negotiate this course for the second time. We're going to see a few here in the order coming up that have ridden around once already. which definitely gives you a distinct advantage on your second horse because you've been around the course.
I believe this is the first year they've allowed more than one ride.
Yes, it is.
Which helps to bolster the number of horses in the field. And as you say, the second time around, you have to know something you didn't the first time.
Peter took the direct route on the forward 6 on that line. And he's well ahead of the mark on the time. Just don't rush your ride home.
I don't think he heard you. But that is tough across.
And that was a fast 4 faults.
That's 75.888. Yeah, I was going to say it is the fastest of the 4 falters, 75.888.
We'll tack that shoe back on to Wordsworth to the source home by Kimberly Bruce from Turner, Oregon. The rider who calls home Canby, Oregon at the controls in the irons. Here's Jeff Camp for the USA.
Wordsworth 2 now, Kimberly Bruce's entry. Jeff Camp of Oregon. We thought this horse was coming in earlier. I believe he might have lost his shoe in the schooling area and was able to get that repaired before he came in. Jeff Camp, again, is a top professional out of the Portland, Oregon area, Wilsonville.
Jeff, a very seasoned rider. I've been watching him all season here. We happen to be stabled next to each other, close to each other, and he's been working very hard with his young Grand Prix horse and this a little older horse, of using him sparingly and saving him for this last weekend.
It's the only Scottish-bred horse. He's a 12-year-old Scottish sport horse gelding.
Just kind of overrode the 7 a little bit. There again. It's such a fine line. You do the 6, it's flat. You do the 7, it gets a little deep.
Whoa. Whoa.
And just got a little tired toward the end, I think.
Well, it was a 16-fault score for the Oregonian Jeff Camp in Wordsworth 2, 78.549 time on the course.
Brings us to this rider from Mexico, Daniel Pedraza,
Here's a young rider from Mexico, Daniel Pedraza, on Arc de Triomphe. He's a 12-year-old Dutch stallion, World Cup competitor, also a competitor at Spruce Meadows, 2 times Grand Prix money here in the United States recently. Arc de Triomphe and Daniel Pedraza from Mexico.
Daniel going along well here.
Mexican riders always well represented here in the desert circuit.
Good ride there. But a little on the slow side.
Things are looking good if he can make the time and get through the next 4 obstacles without penalty. We can add one of our neighbors to the south, a Mexican rider, to join the Americans, the Irish and the German and the Canadian, but it won't happen with the Queen of Hearts taking her toll again.
Yeah, that was too bad. Daniel had a good round going. It was a little slow.
Over the time allowed in 84.567 total. And that is going to be 2 time penalties to go with his 4 faults in the jumping. So it totals 6.
You could hear in Daniel's voice as he jumped through this double. He started saying, whoa, 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 worrying about B, and needed a little more leg at A to make sure he got across that back rail.
Coming up next, a young lady from Northern California, just outside of Sacramento, from Wilton, California. Katie Harris is aboard Lafino 4. A 9-year-old warm blood stallion. Money earned in the Smart Pack Series, which are the Friday Grand Prix throughout the HIT Series here, in every one of the HIT's venues.
This is a very uniquely built horse. He's very, very tall. Oh, has a stumble as he lands over the first jump. And for a tall horse, he's very downhill, as we would say. Katie's a tall girl, and this horse has a wonderful jumping technique. He just has a unique body build. A little quiet into this double, going to ask for some scope, and got very lucky. That rail bounced a foot up out of the cup and right back in it. Might be her day. As you can see as he goes around, he's very low with his head and out in front of himself. But he jumps a super round jump. Now she does the 6 because of the size of his step. Worked very well for her. Now she needs to move a little.
Right at about 67 seconds rounding the turn here. 83 is the time allowed.
Now leg.
This could be the second American and no professionals yet.
She needs to hustle. It's going to cost her 2 time faults, but a super round of jumping.
84.341. That is 2 time penalties. Puts her in the 4th position, or I'm sorry, the 5th position right now. The 5th position for one of our young amateur riders. No American professionals yet.
That was really a shame, and that horse had she had some real early luck there at 4AB. Kind of underrode the first double and was lucky with a hind rub. Horse jumped brilliantly the rest of the way around. He's just a little bit of a slow mover. He spends a lot of time in the air, and he probably loses, a 10th or less of a second every jump that he jumps compared to some of the average horses, just because he's a lofty, high-jumping horse.
Here is W. Zermi 13 from Woodacre Stable LLC in Santa Monica, California. It's a second ride for Zazu Hoffman. It's a 14-year-old Dutch mare, winner of a Smart Pack Grand Prix, award winner in the $75,000 event during the HIT circuit, and suffers the rail at number 1.
Yeah, it makes it a long ways around after that. You know, a lot of preparation goes into this, and kind of horse maybe came out of the schooling area. Maybe it's a little warm, maybe he's a little hot, maybe he's a little tired, but having 1 and 2 down, And maybe it looked a touch, you know, underpaced, maybe a little conservative the first 2 jumps, and she kind of picked up the momentum here a little bit, and the RPMs are a little stronger now than they were the first 2 jumps, and the horse seems to be jumping better.
Shadows are long at fence number 1, the AIG jump as well. The beginning of the Grand Prix, there was no shadow on the ground on the landing side.
Sorry.
And after a rail at number 9, that's up to 12 faults. She's going to, I believe, withdraw.
Young professional rider Zazu Hoffman, W's there, May 13. Today's not going to be there.
Young rider, excellent career, long way to go. Still for Zazu Hoffman. As is the case in every equestrian event and sports in general, it's not everyone's day every day. But a good, strong young rider, a good horse. And that was her second ride.
Yeah, we're kind of running into a group here coming up of 2-horse riders. And there'll be a few that you're gonna see here in the next few rounds that are gonna get their second chance.
Tammy Phillips comes back with her second effort. This is again out of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, riding in the World Cups, 5 times Canadian money earner. And this is Balou, a 12-year-old Hanoverian mare.
So Tammy owning one of the clear rounds earlier on in the class. Could be a big payday for her if she can double it up here.
Won't happen with the rail at number 2 for Balou. Lucky enough to have a second ride, though. It's another chance to be in the money again. The money is paid, I believe, down to 20 places. So a 4-fault score at this point still would get a reasonable paycheck.
Saved a little time on that corner. And added a stride there. Well, I would say the majority of the class has done 7 strides there. That was 8. This horse has a hard left shift, but she seems to understand how to ride it.
Carrying just 4. On the way home to number 14, and it'll be just 4 in 81.847 with 4. 81.847. So
yeah, just an unfortunate rail there. You know, that was as close to having 2 horses in the jump off as we've seen today.
So she'll be in the 4-fault standings. Carl Cook, rather, is coming up on his second entry. This is Tembla, again owned by Signe Osby of Woodside, California.
Carla's had a lot of success with this mare. She's super scopy. You'll see that she jumps very easy. Doesn't require a lot of push.
Qualified in the Western League of the United States for the World Cup Finals in Omaha next month. Tembla is a 13-year-old Zangerscheider mare. 2 times Grand Prix money already on the circuit here. And again, both he and his trainer are qualified for the World Cup. His trainer, of course, as we mentioned earlier, was Eric Navet.
Good ride into that double. And Carl really using his, as I would say, geometry well there. He jumped that Liverpool and stayed out to the right to give himself some more room in that 7 with this big mare.
Looks to be okay on time. Had 4 faults with his first effort, and he has 4 faults again.
Yeah. So many people have mismeasured that double, trying to stay off the front pole. It's been the back pole that's been the culprit.
And guess where he had the rail on the first horse? The exact same place.
Same place.
So a 4-fault score, 79-937.
Yeah, just into the double, you know, a little on the weak side, I thought. You know, he had the same pull down with his gray horse, underrode it just a touch. That may have been their plan, but today it didn't work for them. Too bad.
The time on course was actually 1/1000th of a second faster than his last round.
It is a sport of consistency.
Ali Ramsey of Victoria, British Columbia, Canada now on Hermeline Vidi Hugova. Rides with Canadian Olympic rider Jill Henselwood, who's made a habit of coming down here and providing us with great performances herself and her riders as well.
Yeah, this horse-rider combination, I think 2 weeks ago, really put in a stellar performance, super round in the jump-off in the Grand Prix. Ooh, gave a big effort to get out of that double.
10-year-old Belgian mare.
Allie's a real worker. She's a student of the game. She has a coach who is also a student of the game. And she's worked very hard to get where she is today. Time is good. Like it.
Queen of Hearts of broken hearts all day long. That's 13A. You either get the front, but most likely the back rail down, and it's a 4-fault effort. 79-898 with 4.
What a shame. What a well-ridden track, well thought out. Just once again, that's becoming a very difficult double to jump throughout the day. Looking at it now, again, I think she jumped the triple bar thinking she was going to get there just fine and just needed a little more kick coming in. It seems to be happening over and over again. It's a shame the riders don't have a monitor in the warm-up area. It's a little difficult here because the berm around the arena doesn't allow us as we're warming up to really see what's going on in the ring. And without instant replay and a monitor there, you know, maybe some riders could have salvaged that.
John Anderson of Calgary, Alberta, Canada, himself a Grand Prix producer, as I mentioned earlier, and Granite S. join us now. The second ride for John.
Yeah, let's have John. John needs a little better luck than he had with his first horse. He started out with the first jump down, second jump down, one more down and called it a day, or actually 2 down and called it a day.
This really being the beginning of the season for show jumping, and it'll go through November in almost every area of North America. There's a lot of time, you know, coming for competition. So
yeah, and some of these horses, you know, it takes them a month or so, 2-3 months, sometimes half the season to fall into gear. You know, we're dealing with a being with another mind, and the communication and the hours spent in the saddle to perfect this sport, you know, is different with every animal, just like it is different with every athlete that is a human. Well, that was too bad for John. It really wasn't his day today.
20 on the course and 4 on the clock for Granite S. Back to California now, San Marcos, California, and Michelle Parker, who rides for her Cross Creek Farms Incorporated out of Tucson, Arizona. This is Kupalor. Kupalor's a 10-year-old Dutch gelding, winner of the $75,000 event here on the Hits circuit in the Coachella Valley. The first $1 million event on the Triple Crown of Show Jumping Series, brought to us by Hits Show Jumping Circuit. It goes from here to Ocala, Florida, through Virginia, Arizona, and ends up in Saugerties, New York in September with the final event, the final jewel of the Triple Crown, if you will, of show jumping, all at $1 million.
Kupalor is a younger horse that, you know, to the Grand Prix. Unfortunately, just had a little cut down there on the plank. I watched this horse doing the young horse classes over the past few years, and he has his own kind of style. And this is a good test for him. Now, Michelle is a very savvy rider. She knows that she had an early 4, and she's picking up the pace. She's trying to cut and shave a little bit here and there, still leave the jumps up, knowing that a 4-fault round, which is over now, is worth a good paycheck.
Not many rails at the Pac-Man fence, but that is one, spoiling her clear round. But she adds another one.
Yeah, you see
Come
her
up with
time.
8, and now 12, 74, 646. A dozen penalties. Very fast time over the course. Almost 10 seconds under the time allowed. And sometimes speed kills.
Yeah, I mean, the idea was right, was to try to pick it up a little bit, leave the jumps up, and come up with the fastest 4, but didn't work in her favor today.
About a half dozen riders remain in the first round now, and Mandy Porter of Encinitas, California, is back with her second effort. Milano, owned by Abigail Weiss, Rancho Santa Fe, California. She had an excellent performance on the first round with that very typey stallion that she rode. Back now with Milano. Again, with about a half dozen remaining. This is a 12-year-old Swedish gelding, winner of a Smart Pack Grand Prix, 2 times again in other Grand Prix, winning money. Alan Wade has so far set a rather beautiful course and difficult in almost every separate area. The beginning, the middle, and the end has taken its toll on a number of riders.
Sign of a good course designer. You know, this horse had a stellar weekend 2 weekends ago. Mandy put in a unbelievable jump-off round. It couldn't have been ridden any better, textbook. And she's looking like she may have everything in order again this week with this horse.
Uma O'Neill, the only American rider with a double clear or a clear performance, not yet to be double clear.
Oh,
There's
and this pole is sitting on the edge of the cup. It's a good thing the wind is blowing to the west.
Terrible static.
Mandy to the last, and yes.
There you have it, a clear performance, an excellent time. It's Milano and Mandy Porter.
I don't know if you guys can zoom
Joining
in as he
Uma
fixes
O'Neill.
this pole, but it was hanging on the edge of that cup. That was good luck and a great ride.
So Mandy Porter taking Abigail Weiss's Milano to a clear score and joining the jump-off group that totals 5 now.
This is the place, AIG $1 million Grand Prix. That's the place to do it. 5 to come back for the jump off. All right, we'll go by show jumping syndication. And this horse is Cristallo. The rider from Santa Clarita, California, ladies and gentlemen, the master of faster, Richard Spooner.
One of the winningest riders in California show jumping history, Richard Spooner, joins us now. Many times a Grand Prix victor here in the desert on the great jumper Robinson. And this is his next great jumper. This is a 19-year-old, however. Cristallo, he's been around the world and won in Europe a number of times. Richard Spooner well into the millions of dollars earning. He's got 83 seconds to complete the course on this fellow, and he could join the jump-off group. This is Cristallo and Richard Spooner.
Yeah, this is a great combination. This is a very difficult animal. He has a mind of his own. I've watched Richard work this horse on a daily basis, and I wouldn't call it classical flat work, but he has a rapport with this animal that has produced many, many wins. Let's see if the combo has it today.
He's won in Geneva, Monaco. Really just had an amazing European tour. I spoke with him earlier, and I asked him how the older gentleman was feeling. He said he was feeling great, that the horse was not affected by the heat, and if luck was with him, he'd be in the jump-off.
Clear, he does the 6. He planned that all the way along by staying in on the inside of that track.
This horse jumps a lot like Robinson.
Yeah,
as well.
he does, and he's well ahead of where he needs to be time-wise. Oh, and you see Richard leaving a stride out to the last jump, trying to be the fastest 4. That was a shame.
Well, it's a 4-fault score, 79-393 for the veteran duo of Cristallo and Richard Spooner, almost making it to the jump-off. But again, the Queen of Hearts, actually the Ace of Hearts this time, takes its toll there in that final combination. 5 are clear for the jump-off: Irish, German, Canadian, and 2 Americans. Perfect score right now for course designer Alan Wade of Tipperary, Ireland. The 83 seconds makes the riders ride directly, promptly, but a course that is designed for all levels. If you're crafty enough, you can make it. If you're unlucky enough, you won't. Here's our gold medalist from the Olympic Games now, Will Simpson, Westlake Village, California. He's riding for Nicole Walker of Aurora, Ontario, Canada, on the Dude.
All right, well, Will and this horse are an amazing combination. Will, as we all remember, 2 years ago, was on just an incredible roll here where he won 9 Grand Prix. This was a horse that I believe he won 4 or 5 with. So this is a great horse and rider combination that have been building over the past few years. They know each other well. Oof, that was dicey. Trying to save a little time. Will's always a quick rider. He came in on the inside track there. Got away with it.
If he's in the jump off, and having him towards the end of the jump off could spell doom for the other riders as well. They know that he's a speedster, and he's brave.
Will's a good 1.5 seconds ahead of the mark where he needs to be, and just has to have a good scopy ride here. Help him.
Boy, she's spoiled so many so far. Queen of Hearts does it again. This time the dude collects 4 right there towards the end.
And a fast forward.
78.742, a good time, a very good time. He'll be in the money, but he won't be in the jump off. Take a good look at our next entry because it's the tallest horse.
Yeah, here's Will coming into the double. Gives it a super strong ride. And just, didn't jump high enough, I guess we have to say.
So here is the largest horse in the field at 19 hands. And that makes him about 6'4" at the shoulder. The rider is 6'3", so you can get an idea of how big this horse is. Will he fit inside the combinations remains to be seen, but a super jumper. And this is Balou U. Georgie Mascri Segisman is the owner of Somas, California. Lane Clark of Laguna Niguel, already with lots of prize money underneath their girth and belt. But can they put it together on Alan Wade's course today with 83 seconds? Will he take a lot of time because of the horse's size, or can he make the 83?
It's gone now.
It was constant in my right ear. Gone now.
This was the horse. This horse was the winner last weekend of the Grand Prix here. As you said, Mike, a huge animal. And Lane has to factor in the ride to this horse because the big horses aren't as nifty and as quick across the ground. And he had to really steady that horse to fit 5 strides in that line where it has not been that steady for most of the other horses. Sometimes an advantage having the big horse. The jump looks smaller, but also the rideability makes it a little more technical trying to fit the large body into the short spaces, i.e. 8B there. Just jumped in and hard to make that horse shorten his big body to fit in the 2 strides where he could leave that element of that combination up.
If there ever was a wicked queen, she lived at 13A. So the big horse with 8 faults and a time 81.167. 8 and 81.167 for Balou U. Ashley Bond, our $1 million winner from several seasons ago, back with her second ride. Cornancer, Little Valley Farms entry again from Hidden Hills, California. This will be her final effort to gain entrance to the jump-off, if she can be clear here on Cornancer.
Once again, Ashley is a very aggressive rider. This is a smaller horse than her earlier mount, and just kind of ran into the first jump. That's unfortunate. As we said earlier, as the day lingers on, the shadows get longer. Horse can see through that first jump a little bit and see the shadows on the backside, and sometimes that gets them to peek down as they leave the floor and cause them to jump into the top pole of in my opinion, a large first jump vertical for a Grand Prix.
She's been quite a rider since she was a pony rider. I had the luxury of judging her when she was 8 years old, and I thought this was one of the most natural pony riders I think I'd ever seen. Riding with Costi Caracesis at that time, and has just blossomed all the way up into the grown woman that she is. and the $1 million winner that she became. Really gave a punch out at 13B.
Yeah,
So we're going to pull up here.
You know, when I walked this course this morning, this afternoon, I thought that was going to be a little bit of a technical line. It has proven to be much more than just a little.
I don't know if she's going to elect. She is going to elect to finish. And a ring crew watch for the horse. It's coming back. So a tough afternoon for former $1 million winner Ashley Bond. Wasn't going to be her day, but then she hasn't been working too hard here during this desert circuit, and there's a big year, a long year yet to come. Our last to work now in the first round of our $1 million event, brought to us by AIG here at the Coachella Valley Hits facility. This is Calypso, owned by Signe Osby. It's her third entry, ridden by European champion Eric Navet. This was also the top Pacific Coast money earner on the season last season.
Yeah, and Eric just this afternoon received the Kindred Barrow Meter 40 Grand Prix Leading Rider Award. And this is one of the most beautifully handed riding men I've ever seen in my life. He has hands of gold. And it's a pleasure to watch him ride.
Nine international medals, which include the World Equestrian Games, the European Championship, the Olympic Games, the World Cup. And one of the greatest show jumping riders the world has seen.
This is not an easy horse. He has his own technique, his own style. And Eric has developed this horse I've watched over the last 3-4 seasons. That is just, it's been a pleasure to watch. It's a pleasure to watch him ride any horse. Hustling through the turn. Oh, and he gets him to jump clear through.
We could have a Frenchman join the group. And
yes,
we do. Eric Navet, 79, 368, and clear. Calypso will go into the jump off.
When we looked at the order earlier today, saw him last, I was like, could be his day.
Incredible first round. It was Alan Wade, assisted by Bernardo Cabral from Portugal, who had helped out Alan Wade in the measurements and so on of the big event here while he was course designing earlier in the week in other rings. But good luck. An Irish horse and an Irishman are topping off our jump-off field. Then the German Andre Thieme with Tendricks, Chris Starr, the Canadian rider. Finally, an American, young Uma O'Neill, the amateur rider. Then we have Milano with the seasoned veteran Mandy Porter, and now the French man Eric Navet on Calypso. It's an excellent job by Alan Wade. I mean, he had a lot to do here with a meter 50 class for $1 million. It had to be technical. The time had to be prompt, and he did the great job. The combination at the end seemed to take its toll there. The Queen of Hearts and the Ace of Hearts.
Yes, just rode much more difficult than it walked. And as I walked it, the triple bar is a funny jump. Horses have to stretch. They sometimes land a little shallow. They sometimes land a little deep. We saw a little bit of both here of the rideability to that Oxford vertical combination. But it should be a very interesting jump off. We have some fast riders. It's a very good track. It's going to allow them to let it go a little bit, but the bogey jump is still there. The deck of cards, double of King of Hearts, Ace of Hearts, and Queen of Hearts, still has to be jumped again for a second time in the jump off.
The Triple Crown of show jumping, California, Ocala, Florida, and finally in Socrates, New York. But there's more on the scene in the future because Balmoral Park, south of Chicago, is the newest hits complex. It's being refurbished right now. At one time was a major racetrack, so it'll have excellent stabling. There's plenty of room, and the horse shows will begin a little later this year. So could we have $4 million classes coming in the next year? It's very possible. But this year we can certainly look forward to next weekend when we go to Ocala, Florida for that second leg of the Triple Crown. That time it'll be the Great American. $1 million. And a number of these riders will join us there. Not all of them will make the trip, but a good number will. And that Grand Prix actually goes a little bit into the evening. And there's a beautiful stadium in Ocala, Florida, one of the thoroughbred capitals of the world at one time.